Time Walk with Me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Time Walk with me. I'm the Time Walker, and this is my Gylwain Casting Director deck, where every creature plays a role handed out by the commander. And if you hear any thunder in the background, like just now, then that is because I am recording this during a thunderstorm, so that's fun. My dogs really love it. Not. Anyway, Gylwain Casting Director. Gylwain is a 2/3 human bard who costs 1 generic, 1 green, and 1 white mana to cast. When he or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you create a royal role, a sorcerer role, or a monster role token attached to it. What are those? Well, I'm about to tell you, so chill out. Gosh. A royal role is an aura that gives enchanted creature +1/+1 and ward 1. A sorcerer role gives enchanted creature +1/+1, and whenever this creature attacks, scry 1. A monster role gives enchanted creature +1/+1 and trample, and that will be the most useful one to this deck, but I guess there will be times when you want the others. Potentially. So the idea here is to have a lot of low-cost creatures that give me advantages when enchantments enter the battlefield, when creatures are enchanted or modified, and other situations like that. A creature can't have more than 1 role on it controlled by the same player, so the last one put on it will destroy any others that were there before. I didn't put a lot of enchantments in this deck because you get one every time you cast a creature, so I put in a lot of creatures. This category also has other stuff in it that takes advantage of Gylwain's ability. Captivating Unicorn. This helps you get attacks through by tapping opponent's creatures. Rhyme for Reindeer. This one also taps your opponent's creatures. Favored of Iroas. This gets double strike when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. Pious Wayfarer. This gives a creature +1/+1 until end of turn when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. Kutzil Malamet Exemplar. This guy stops your opponents from pulling any combat shenanigans, and since your creatures will all have greater power than their base, they'll all draw you a card when they deal combat damage. And by all, I mean each. They'll each draw you a card when they deal combat damage. Winds of Wrath. This is the perfect one-sided board wipe for this deck. It's also the only board wipe in this deck. I don't really like to wipe the board. It's mean, and I don't do mean things. Nettlecyst. I didn't put a lot of equipment into this deck, but what is in here, like Nettlecyst, takes advantage of the abundance of enchantments that you'll have out. Sky Blessed Samurai. This creature's enchantment discount could very well make it only cost 1 white mana, which is nice for a flying 4/4 that will immediately become a flying 5/5, with trample, perhaps. Kami of Transience. You won't be casting a lot of enchantment spells, but this creature's last ability ensures that it will keep coming back whenever it's killed. Orochi Mergekeeper. Since this creature will enter the battlefield modified, it will always tap for 2 green mana. Tawashi Guidebot. Auras make a creature modified, so this will end up simply tapping to let you draw a card. Walking Skyscraper. This could end up being a free 8/8 with trample and, when it's untapped, hexproof. Idol of Oblivion. This is another card that you'll be able to tap to draw a card every turn as long as a creature enters the battlefield under your control. Stonehaven Pilgrim. You'll definitely control an enchantment when this creature attacks, since Gylwain makes it enter the battlefield with one. Setessan's Skirmisher. This lady gets a small boost when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. Eidolon of Countless Battles. This will definitely get huge since its power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures and auras that you control. You'll definitely want to put the monster roll on it so it has trample. Ethereal Armor. This will also make a creature huge, so put it on a creature that has been assigned the role of monster. Sage's Reverie. This will help fill your hand and make a creature huge due to the number of auras that'll be on the battlefield. Umbra Mystic. This will help protect your creatures by making them lose their role instead of dying when they're destroyed, though once they've lost their role, they'll be vulnerable. Ancestral Mask. Again, put this on a monster role creature and win the game, especially if you use Gylwain himself. Eidolon of Blossoms. This one is nice and simple. When another enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. Sanctum Weaver. This gives you a nice mana boost, tapping for mana of any color for every enchantment you control. Setessan Champion. This creature draws you a card and gets permanently bigger when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. Siona, Captain of the Pyleus. This creature gives you a 1/1 human soldier token when an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control. They won't be assigned a role, but they'll exist. Good chump blockers. Archon of the Wild Rose. This turns every creature you cast into 5/5s with flying and probably trample if you make them all monsters. Slumbering Keep Guard. This guy can help make sure your draws are good, and he can give himself +1/+1 until end of turn for every enchantment you control for 3 mana, meaning he can do it over and over again and take out an opponent quickly. He needs to be a monster. Make him a monster. Graceful Takedown. Since basically all of your creatures will be enchanted, this can take out a big target. Redtooth Vanguard. This creature's ability can keep coming back from the graveyard, and since it already has trample, you can make it something other than a monster. Tanglespan Lookout. This is like Eidolon of Blossoms, except it works only for auras. Still, you'll draw a card whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, so that's good. Sir Armont the Redeemer. This creature's top ability doesn't really matter unless you have a creature that came out before Gylwain did. It's an anthem for your enchanted creatures, meaning it gives them +1/+1. These are just a few creatures that don't specifically reward you for pumping out auras, but I still thought they belonged in this deck. Wilson, Refined Grizzly. This guy's just funny. Charming Prince. This guy can blink a creature that you own, which returns it to your control if someone else controls it, but more importantly, it makes it get another roll and everything that triggers. Regal Bunnycorn. This creature's power and toughness is each equal to the number of non-land permanents you control, which includes tokens. Beast Whisperer. You won't be casting a lot of enchantment spells, but you will be casting a lot of creature spells, so this will help keep your hand full. Abundance. You know I couldn't make a green deck without this card. Whenever you would draw a card, you would decide if you want a land or a non-land, and then reveal cards from the top of your library until you get one. It's so good. Then the rest of the cards go on the bottom of your deck. Scroll of Fate. If you have something in your hand that doesn't really help you, this can turn it into a free 2/2 creature that triggers Gylwain's ability and gets a roll. Sculpting Steel. A Scroll of Fate is just a Scroll of Fate, but this can be anything, even a Scroll of Fate. White is really good at getting rid of a wide variety of stuff, so most of this is white. I don't have another generous gift, Beast Within, or Swords to Plowshares, but if you make this deck, I would recommend putting those in. Revoke Existence. This is like a slow but very effective disenchant. It can kill indestructible things too. It's really good if an opponent has a Blightsteel Colossus. Stasis Snare. This gets rid of a creature and counts as an enchantment for things that count the number of those that you have. Sky Whaler's Shot. This kills only big creatures, but those are good creatures to kill. Blade Banish. This kills only very big creatures, but again, why wouldn't you kill them if you can? Wing Shards. This card has saved me many times. People often cast at least one spell before they attack, so this will often get rid of at least 2 attacking creatures. Make Your Move. This is a versatile spell that takes out a big creature, an artifact, or an enchantment at instant speed. Fade into Antiquity. This is a green and slightly more expensive Revoke Existence. It completely obliterates an artifact or an enchantment. Vanish into Eternity. This is very versatile and it exiles, but it's pricey if you use it to target a creature. Still, it might be worth it. Banishing Light. This gets rid of anything except for a land and ups your enchantment count. And Disenchant. It's simple, fast, cheap, and versatile. Because I'm not Mr. Moneybags, I put in a lot of stuff that's not exactly optimal, so I'll just advise you to put around 10 pieces of ramp in your deck. You can check the link in the description to see exactly what cards I used. Some of it's pretty good. I just don't really mind mana rocks that cost 3 mana. My decks are casual, not CEDH. As for lands, I have forests and plains like you would expect, along with a bunch of other stuff that taps for green and or white. I did try to minimize the number of tap lands, so there's a lot of stuff that enters untapped, if you have 2 or more opponents, or if you, reveal a basic land from your hand, stuff like that. There's just one thing that I think is really worth noting, and that's Gavany Township. This land is cool because late in the game it can pump up your whole team, and it's cool that it gives counters, so the +1/+1 is permanent and can build up over time. So that's it. That's my Gylwain Casting Director deck, which I named Know Your Role on Architect. Tell me what you think, what could be improved, what surprised you, whatever happens to be on your mind, and I will see you next time. Hey, that rhymed. Oh, so did that. Well, that didn't, though.